YouTube, what's happening? It's your guy Hitch. I hope everybody's over their New Year hangover, because that joint is real. This was the first time I ever experienced it. I'm just now realizing what day of the week it is, and I went back to work on the 7th. So hope everybody's off to a good start for the new year. I'm finally getting this video done. So yes, it's about to be a video about my entire collection. It only makes sense to do it now because the releases are going to get crazy at some point. Personally, I love watching other people's sneaker collection videos because I like to see what other people have in their collection and what they value and things like that. But while watching a bunch of videos on people collecting stuff, I started to see a lot of videos where people are either covering the same sneakers, or they made it seem like to collect sneakers you have to, your collection has to have all hype. And honestly,
I ain't with that shit.
So that's one of the reasons I started this channel, was because I don't believe that. I think everybody has their own way of collecting, whether it's you just want hype stuff, you want just Jordans, basketball sneakers, Adidas, runners, whatever it is, that's fine. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And that's what you're gonna see in my collection. I have Grails, Jordans, hype stuff, runners, Adidas. My theory is I just buy what I like. So it's about 109 sneakers total, and I'm gonna try my best to find some way to make it organized.
It's the interlude, I'ma slide to it, grind to it, 9 to 5 to it, ain't throwing gasoline.
To kick off my collection, we'll start with the Jordans, go in order of the J's, and then figure it out from there. First up is the Jordan Hair 1s. So back when Jordan started to do the whole remaster thing, these were one of the first J's to release around that time, and honestly the material was not the greatest with the nubuck and the leather, but the colorway's always been fire to me. I remember these had retro, I think in like 07, 08, and I didn't get them. So when they came back out, I had to get my hands on these, and it's funny because I don't like Jordan mids like that, and most people don't, and I can't blame them. But even though it's a mid, I think the colorway was always dope. Next up is my first pair of Jordan 1 OG highs, and that's the top 3s. My sister caught me these for Christmas in like 2016, and I think a lot of people slept on this shoe. Now if you look at the resale value, it's crazy. It's like $400 or $500, but the reason I like the shoe so much is because it has the top 3 Jordan 1s, top 3, all wrapped in one sneaker, and I don't have the bands, the Royals, or the black toes. El Capitan Derek Jeter 1s. They were kind of limited when they first came out, so like a day or two later I walked into Champs in my local mall and they were still sitting there, and I love them because everywhere that you see black on the shoe has 3M, and I love 3Ms. For all the hype beasts, off-white UNC Jordan 1s. If you haven't watched the video on how I actually got these, go watch it. These are the only off-whites I got in my collection, and I'm happy by that because I think it's a classic colorway, and everything that Virgil did to this shoe just made it a grail for me. When you average 28 points a game as a rookie, you deserve to be Rookie of the Year, and that's next up, the Rookie of the Year 1s. I think the colorway is clean. The shoe can be set off with the red laces, and you have good materials between the tumble leather on the toe and the mid panel, and then a good suede. My suede actually needs some mink oil on it right now, but other than that, a Jordan 1 Rookie of the Years are dope. If you like to create, I recommend you going to the Nike House of Innovation store out in New York. Next up is the sneaker that I created at that store, the noise canceling pack Jordan 1s. But these are what I call my Robocops. Yeah, for what it's worth, you spend an extra $30 and you can kind of have free range on creating your own kicks. Another Jordan 1, the Gatorade Cyber. I was late to the party on the Gatorade pack, but honestly when these came out in 2017, I did not want to drop $175 on them, so I got these off of StockX for $123 to close out last year. And great materials. The leather is very soft. I like the colorway. You got a translucent outsole, which you don't typically see on a Jordan 1, and then a lot of different Gatorade branding. I'm not a fan of Jordan 2s, so we're gonna move on to the 3s. True Blue 3s. I remember having these in high school 2 weeks before they came out, and I trashed them. So when they re-released them or retro them back in 2016, I was happy. Unfortunately, the quality on these are trash, but because of nostalgic purposes, they're staying in my collection. I don't know if you want to call them Hall of Fame, Katrina, whatever you want to call them. Next up is the Hall of Fame, aka Katrina, aka the Derek Anderson PEs. This shoe actually has better quality than the True Blues, go figure, but I think the colorway is dope. I was just glad that they finally retroed these after so many years, because I think he wore them back in like 06 or something like that. Moving on to the 4s will be my Legend Blue 4s, which I hate that name. I know these as the Columbia 4s. When they came out when I was in high school, that's what they were dubbed. These were, I believe, the first of the remastered J's once they started doing it back in 2014, 15, can't remember the year. But I love the colorway, very clean. 4s are definitely in my top 5. I'm not a big fan of Jordan 5s, but I do like them. So next up is the black metallic 5s. I'm pissed off that I didn't get the great 5s when they dropped, or the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 5s, but the black metallics are cool to me. OG colorway, 3M tongue, icy bottom. These actually were slept on too. I remember these were sitting on shelves for a while. I think they may have actually went on sale, but I'm cool with them. The next shoe in my collection is very, 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 very important to me, because without this shoe I probably would not have this YouTube channel. I probably would not like sneakers as much as I do, and that is the Maroon 6. They had the $220 price tag, and I think that's why people didn't mess with them. That's your problem. I love these shoes. I remember my mom took me to go and buy them, and the last sneaker that they had close to my size was a half size too small, and she bought them. I got in the car, she touched to see what my toe was on the toe cap, and because it was at the top, she returned them the same day, and I haven't been the same since. So I'm glad that they finally retroed these back in 2014, I think, 13, something like that. But I probably only worn these a handful of times. The bottom is still somewhat icy. I don't think there's any other shoe like this between the heel loop, the tongue. This was just a different shoe to me. And Michael Jordan also won his first ring with this sneaker. The 6, not the colorway. This is one of my grails. Lucky number 7 is up next, the Raptor 7s. I remember when these dropped. This was probably the last time I camped out. Me and my right hand, Illy, shout out to Illy, we camped out for these at, I think, we went to 3 different malls. We then slept in front of a sneaker store in Franklin, and we did not get them. We then, he went home, I went home, and then he bought his from like a UK site. And then I got these off Finish Line. OG colorway, another championship under Michael Jordan's belt wearing these sneakers. My next sneaker is my first ever Dornbecker collection sneaker, and that is a Jordan 7. The kid that, I forgot his name that did these, but he did a phenomenal job on these with the details, with the Dubré, that graphic that's going up the upper, the gold hints, the parts that signify his guitar, and then that graphic on the translucent outsole. I'm typically a retailer bust guy. I'm not a big fan of paying resale, but when these dropped in 2016 and I struck out every chance I had, I copped some Yeezys, resold those, and I was able to get these. Next up is the Aqua 8s, and I've always been a fan of the Aqua 8s. It's funny, I had a few pair of 8s, and when I moved a couple years ago, a lot of my sneakers were like left in my car, so the glue started to melt and my sneakers went to crap. So I don't have any more 8s. These are my only pair, but it's an OG colorway, very clean, decent materials. I always thought that they did a phenomenal job on the 8s with graphics and stuff like that. I truly believe the next shoe is the reason why Jordan started the remastering, and that is the Baron 9s. I love this colorway. I always thought the storyline behind it, 45 in the back, I always thought the storyline behind this shoe was great. The issue is the material on this shoe is just trash. Like, look at the outsole. You can't get rid of that. The leather was trash. Dope sneaker, dope colorway, but trash materials. Sticking with Michael Jordan, the baseball player, the Pinnacle pack, baseball pack, Baron pack, whatever you want to call it, 9s. I do like the detailing of how this is like a baseball glove, and then the same thing going around on the back of the heel with the 45. But honestly, $250 for a pair of sneakers is OD. We're supposed to get this type of leather on our sneaker that I haven't paid $250. The next sneaker is a Grail, and it's the oldest sneaker that I have in my collection, and that is my Bread 11s. These were another pair of sneakers that were in my car where the glue started to melt. This shoe just happened to not have been affected that much. I didn't like how they had the quality where they printed on the 23. It's now gone for the most part. This was in the CDP or the Colizone pack, whatever that pack was back in 08. And the downside is the taxis were with this shoe as well. The taxis had to get thrown in the trash. So these are only pair I have left from that collection. Just a heads up, we're about to go on a streak of 11s. Next up is the Space Jam 11s. These are not from 2016. This is still the low cut leather. These are the Space Jams from 09. This was also a camp out shoe. And the funny thing is, I was at home and my boy Ryan hit me up via Twitter and was like, yo bro, you need to get down here to the mall because the line's getting thick. And if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have got these. But Space Jams from '09, yellow soles and all. Next up are the Columbia Legend Blue 11s, which I think these came out like 2014, can't remember the year, but my girl got me these before they actually came out. When she did, I was shocked. I asked her for a Connect, and to this day I still don't have it. But I just wish these were a part of the remastered J's, because this was a release right before they started remastering sneakers. I'm not sure if I was the only one, but back in the early 90s when they were bringing out the 11s in a low cut and it did not have patent leather, the IEs, I thought they were fake. That being said, I have a pair. These are the Referee Jordan 11 IEs. These are actually a cool shoe to have in like the summertime because they have like the ventilation, the mesh that's cut out throughout the entire upper. I'm not a big fan of the lows that have patent leather on them, so these are just a nice take on the shoe. Scottie Pippen said it best, 73 and 9 don't mean nothing without the ring, and that's what this sneaker is all about. The Jordan 11, 72 and 10, all the enhancements that they made to the sneaker with like the added tumbled leather, I think is good. You have the speckled patent leather, which is not the higher cut, but it still looks good. The translucent bottom, and then the red Jumpman at the back, and it's also a sold in 23. I think all make the sneaker better. Crazy part is I haven't worn the sneaker more than 10 times. The best Jordan 11 ever created, Concord. Retros from last year. If you didn't watch the video, you can always go back and watch it with the 45 on the back. Not much to say here besides the grail of all grails. Still haven't worn these. I'll probably bring these out in the spring. Being that I don't have any 12s, he got game 13s are up next. I know a lot of people said that these are some of their favorite J's, and honestly the 13s were on my top 5 list of J's just because of they do look good. They're also very comfortable. I think they're some of the most comfortable J's. But after these came back out and I realized how high they are, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm more on that low cut wave, but colorway is still OG. Sneaker still looks good. No 14s in my collection, so up next is the DB 15s. 15s, as I've said before, are a very slept on or hated sneaker. I used to hate them back in the late 90s, early 2000s, but I'm a huge fan of the 15s now. Donovan did a hell of a job on these Dornbeckers. The last pair of J's in my collection is not a retro. It is the Jordan 31. And when these came out, I remember them saying that they were gonna design a shoe that was very up to date and modern, but still have the DNA from the Jordan 1. I thought it was a great idea. However, the material sucked. The leather on the heel is trash. I thought that instead of doing fly weave, they could have just done fly knit, but the shoe still looks good and it does have good details. Moving on to my Nike basketball signature sneakers, we'll start one of my favorite basketball players of all time, one of the only people I've ever really seen go toe to toe with Jordan for real, and that's Penny Hardaway. Penny Retro 2 Atlantic colorway. And I remember when the shoe, when the images first came out that they were retro on them, there was a lot of speculation on whether or not the shoe was going to still have that 3M on the heel and going around the upper, which most people remember the sneaker for. And I'm glad that Nike did it, because you never want to see a shoe get retroed and they start taking away things that you remember the original, the OG having. So I'm glad they did that. Next up is the Foamposites Volt Camo colorway, which I like this colorway because it does have the 3M in it. At first I wasn't really too sure about the camo, but it still looks good. Not one of my favorite foams, and these are the only foams I have. In a perfect world, I wish I did have more foams, but if we're being honest, foams have always been expensive. I don't know how you dudes down in DC and Maryland do it with all the foams that y'all have, but they're always expensive. But the good thing about foams is you can wear them in any weather, rain, sleet, snow, summer, don't matter. Very durable sneakers and very important to the sneaker culture. To wrap up my Penny collection, it's gonna be the Penny 5 cloaks. It's funny to see people's reaction when they see these on my feet, just because they changed from the purple to the green and so forth. So I love that about them. And then you have the glow-in-the-dark bottom. Unfortunately, the glow-in-the-dark bottom on these, they're done now, but even when I bought them brand new, the glow wasn't that bright. Now my favorite player in the league is PG, so you know I got a few of his sneakers, starting with the Flip the Switch PG1, which It's a subtle shoe, but it's also loud because of that fuchsia and like the sky blue or the baby blue colors in it. I don't think I'm being biased in saying this. I honestly believe that the PG1 or the PG line has actually been the best signature sneaker in the NBA for the last 2 seasons. This is an ID that I created, and I call it the Red Snapper. I'm Jamaican, and if you look at what a red snapper fish looks like, that's where I really got the inspiration from, having the red, the white, and then having that crimson pop. So PG likes to fish in his off season. One of the features that they presented on the ID was having that fish scale option on the heel, and then also having it on the strap. SoleCollector ranked it number 40 out of all the IDs that they found on social media. So with the next sneaker, I spent $62.50 on. The sneaker retail for $110, and that is the PG1 USA colorway, which it just shows a tribute to PG and his contribution to playing on the FIBA USA Olympic team. And unfortunately, a couple years ago, he had cracked his foot, and that's where the cracked swoosh comes from. But the thing I like about the swoosh is that it's metallic and it's a real thick material on the swoosh. And the last PG1 that I have is the Elements, aka the Undefeated, aka the Oscar the Grouch colorway, because of that raw material and having that hairy heel on the sneaker. A lot of people didn't like it, but I did. Next up in my PGs will be a Grail, a new Grail of mine, and that's the PG2 PlayStation. I don't really have to talk much about this shoe. If you watch my video about my top 10 2018 sneaker pickups, this was number 1, just because they executed on the shoe and the collab so well. I'm a huge Mamba fan, and so is PG, and they gave him a PG Mamba Mentality colorway on the PG2s, which this colorway comes from the Kobe 6 out of the Prelude pack. The shoe didn't sell out, which is fine, but they're sitting on clearance racks right now. I think the last sale that I saw, you can pick this shoe up for 55 bucks, and that's a huge steal. So if you're a big fan of it, I will drop a link down below. Another one of my IDs, PG2 ID, and I call it the Bad Boy for Life. It's Bad Boys 2, or just the Bad Boys movie series, is one of my favorite movies of all time. If you look at the DVD cover, you can see where the inspiration comes from, and using the colors and the speckles inside the midsole, as to how I came up with it. Oh shit. I just got word that SoleCollector ranked these number 2 in their top 50 ranking of all the PG IDs that they found on social media. So check the description. I'll put a link in there so you can take a look at that. Another GR that didn't sell out and I was able to get for a super steal, the PG2 Element 2s, or they've also been dubbed the ACGs because of that logo that they have on the tongue. But it's a olive green colorway with pink, orange, navy blue. Another clean colorway that they gave PG, and I think the shoe is pretty cool. The PG 2.5 PlayStation. This colorway is for the PlayStation 1, which I think came out very well. I actually thought the sneaker was going to be better than the OG PG PlayStation, but unfortunately, because it doesn't have the speckle midsoles, I don't think it came out better. But still, they did a good job on this, between the patent leather on the heel, the toe, the strap has a patent leather along with the PlayStation logos. And my first Kobe ever is the 6s. I bought this sneaker very near dead stock. Shout out to everybody that messes with Nike Talk. It's been around for years. If you're a true sneaker enthusiast, sneakerhead, whatever you want to call yourself, I'd recommend getting down with Nike Talk. I've been a member for years, and I was able to pick these up. I think I paid 80 bucks for them. But the Concord colorway, what I love about the Kobe 6 is that they had like the snake scale or snake skin type of texture on top of the upper, and it's just a very lightweight sneaker. So after the Kobe 6s, my next Kobe pickup is the 9, the Kobe 9 Elite. This is the Inspiration colorway, but this is the first time Nike ever put Flyknit on a sneaker, so this was a huge turn for Nike. It was pretty expensive. It's very different, being that it has such a high cut. I believe they use, or they designed the sneaker based off boxing, but it's a sneaker that definitely turned heads anytime I wear them. Sticking with the Kobe 9, Kobe 9 Elite ID. This sneaker I designed right after my Patriots beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, hence the do your job behind the tongue. I think this was my first ever ID. I just wish that I didn't wear them as much as I did. As you can see, they're starting to have some wear and tear on the heel. So I've kind of kept these in the collection without wearing them most recently, but I got to bring them back out soon. The Joker colorway in the Kobe 10 Elite. Why so serious? I'm not sure what this says serious. The other sneaker said why so on it. I always draw inspiration from either movies, characters, anything where I'm able to take something that I'm a big fan of and try to put it in a sneaker. So I think these came out pretty cool. I didn't like too many of the colorways that were dropping on the Kobe 11, but I did like the Bruce Lees. These joints are cold. You got your slashes in the back on the heels. It's just a staple in Kobe's line. He's always had a Bruce Lee colorway, I think since the 5, and I was glad that they did it on the 11s. This shoe was super comfortable. Please forgive me, I can never remember the name of this shoe. Kobe AD NXT 360 is something along the line. The name is trash, but the shoe I think is pretty cool. The retail on this was $200. These released on Mamba Day, and I like the sneaker. They're very comfortable. It's also very different. The entire shoe is made out of Flyknit, like you walk on Flyknit, and then they have a pod in here where the outsole, or I'm sorry, the midsole is inside the sneaker, and that's made out of React foam, and then you have the outsole. So it's a very minimal sneaker, but it was super expensive. That's why I think they didn't have a lot of colorways. My next Nike basketball signature is going to come from another player that's on that Mamba tree, and that is Kyrie Irving with the Kyrie 1 Letterman. Kyrie was born in Australia, but he's from Jersey. He went to school at St. Pat's, and that's where this colorway comes from. It just has all his high school colors from their uniform into the sneaker. These are my Nike ID Kyrie 1, and I call these Sonic the Hedgehogs. So when the sneaker released and it had that spike at the back, the first thing that came to mind to me was thinking of a way to try to create a Sonic the Hedgehog colorway. I was a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, and I think these came out pretty well. There's some things looking back on it now that I might want to change, but overall I'm happy with them. The tongue says Hedgehog on the right, and then it says Sonic, the Sonic on the left. This is my Kyrie 2 ID. I call these the lightning bugs, but because I couldn't fit that on the tongue, it says Firefly. Simple stuff that you'll notice is like the speckles, the gold speckles and laces. You can't even have that option now in Nike ID, which is trash. This had the two-tone mesh, and then having the metallic gold swooshes on the strap, the logo on the tongue, and then down on the heel. And when I thought of this sneaker, I really wanted to take advantage of the glow-in-the-dark bottom, and that's how the theme started. The Kyrie 4s dropped, and I was able to pick up these, the Chinese New Year's. They started going with the engineered mesh. Then you have natural materials like suede on the back panel. These didn't come out in the US, which kind of sucked. So I had to buy them through StockX. Luckily, I only paid maybe $20 over retail, but the Kyrie 4s are my favorite to date out of his line. And this is my Kyrie 4 ID Two-Face. I love the way this sneaker came out, even with limited options. Not only that, SoleCollector ranked these #1 out of the top Kyries that they have seen on social media. So that meant a lot to me, but I just wish I wore the sneaker more often. And my last sneaker in the Kyrie 4s is the Kyrie 4 Lucky Charms. I still eat Lucky Charms to this day, so when they made the cereal pack, man, this was probably the one colorway out of everything that they released last year that I definitely wanted. But I just love the details, the Lucky Charm marshmallows in the heel, the suede, the iridescent swooshes. They've done great with Kyrie's line. The KD 4s, I picked these up after they had released because I was late to the KD 4 wave. This is the USA colorway that I picked up from RMK store. I think I had spent a little bit extra because retail on these were so cheap. Like, you could have got KD 4s for $95. That's nuts. KD 4s I thought was ahead of its time in regard to the design. It was very different to have a strap going across your midfoot. The KD 6 Texas, I'm actually a Longhorn fan. One thing I hate about this shoe is it's cheap. It's all hyperfused. The entire shoe is hyperfused. But other than that, it's a comfortable shoe, and some of the details, this speckle all over the upper I think is dope, and then you got a glow-in-the-dark swoosh on the toe. Next up is the KD 7, and being that he's from DC, it only made sense that he wanted some foam-posite materials on his KD 7s. But this is the eggnog colorway, Christmas colorway, which I think is nice. I like the 3M that it has on the tongue, but I just wish that they would have done a little bit better with the colorways on this shoe, because there was a lot of potential with the KD7s. Next up is the KD9s, another Christmas colorway. This was cranberry sauce, I think they called it, and this was the first shoe that KD actually had with Flyknit. So they put Flyknit in the front and then some mesh in the back. This shoe is hell to put on. That's the one thing I hated about this shoe, is that it's super hard to put on. The sizing was also weird, but the colorway on this I think was dope. Then you have the KD10 Black History Months, which this sneaker and just KD's line now to this day, they're in a weird space. They don't give him collabs. His colorways are sus, and this colorway I think is good. But the sneaker itself, they only had maybe 2 good colorways. KD10 Pearls, and I just noticed that the sneaker's starting to turn yellow. That's very strange. I really do like this colorway. I like the fact that it has like pony hair on it, but for it to be turning yellow is crazy. And I've probably only worn this sneaker like 3 times. They got to do something with his line. His line is going downhill personally. Next to my Nike basketball signatures are LeBron's, and my first ever LeBron pickup was the LeBron 13 Low, which the 13s were trash, but I really did like the low silhouette. This is the USA colorway, or the Olympic colorway, and I got these from Jimmy Jazz. The shoe was $54.97, and with shipping came out to 62 bucks. My second LeBron purchase was the Christ the King PE. This is a super limited sneaker. They only released in New York. I got to work late trying to pick these up, but it was just great to see that they finally released these to the public, because when they came out back in 06, 07, whatever it was, they only came out for the kids in Queens at the school, Christ the King. My favorite basketball signature so far for this year right now is the LeBron 16, and that's next in my collection with the King colorway. Very clean. I love what they did with the 16, because the 15 was just so high, so it's nice to see like a 5/7 or low cut sneaker. The Flyknit, the details on the tongue, the different lacing options. I really do like what they're doing with the 16s. I'm hoping that I can get an Oreo pair soon on sale. The last LeBron that I have is another sneaker from my top 10 pickups of 2018, and that is the I Promise colorway, which I think is the best LeBron to release so far this year. Again, details, crazy colors all throughout the Flyknit. I really think this is a great sneaker. I'm hoping for better colorways to come down the line for the LeBron 16s. The next sneaker in my collection is a signature. It's not Nike basketball, but it is Nike signature sneaker, and it's from my favorite athlete of all time, and that is Deion Sanders with the Nike DT, or is it Nike Air Max DT 96. Classic sneaker from the 90s. Everybody remembers the sneaker from the flames that they put on the side of the shoe, but I'm just mad that this is the only Deion I have in my collection. The next sneaker is not technically a Nike signature, but if you know anything about the Nike Air more up tempos, you know that this is really Scottie Pippen's shoe. Scottie made this sneaker famous. Everybody remembers this shoe if you were raised and lived in the 90s because of the air on the side. They even did a collab with Supreme where they turned this to say Supreme, but classic sneaker. Sticking with the 90s basketball, you have the Nike Zoom Flight, aka the glove. This is Gary Payton's shoe. There's nostalgia, like the flames that you have once you roll down the outside lining. Dope sneaker, man. Super dope. These dropped I think in like 2013. They retroed in 2013. But if you're a big fan of Nike basketball back in the 90s, you may want to have these in your collection. Next up is the Bo Jacksons, the Raiders colorway. The real name is Nike Air Trainer SC. These joints are indestructible. I think I bought these in 2012. I forgot what boutique I got them from, but I got them on sale for like 60 or 70 bucks. And these are like my beaters, but you can't really tell that they're like beaters because they don't really wear and tear that bad. The Worm, Dennis Rodman, is up next with the Nike Air Indestructs. Another sneaker from the 90s. He wore these on the championship run with the Bulls. Very different lacing system. just a very different shoe. It has actually a strap back here. Just a very different shoe, and it makes sense because Dennis Rodman was not your average NBA player. Getting into the 2000s again with the Nike Sigs, and that is the Nike Air Trainer Cruise. I have a theory that any football player that signs a Nike deal and gets a signature shoe, they get hurt. That's just what it's been. Odell didn't sign his deal. He's been banged up. They all get hurt. It's like the Madden curse. But essentially, the colorway was paying respects to Victor Cruz's dad. These are the Victor Cruz Haystacks. This was the first sneaker to drop for him. Dance to Greatness on the strap. I like them just because being from Jersey and, you know, always wearing Timbs, this is like a nice option to have if you don't want to wear Timbs, you want to wear sneakers. But again, it's not a real comfortable shoe. You're probably actually more comfortable wearing a pair of Timbs than these. The last of my Nike signatures is the Nike Zoom Revis. I do like the strap. Very different strap going across the forefoot or the midfoot. Translucent outsole that's starting to turn a little bit yellow, and then the stupid tongue is kind of wearing and tearing a little bit, but they're clean and comfortable, so I ain't mad at them. Next, we'll get into my runners and training sneakers. I know I'm a big basketball fan, and that's really this type of sneaker that got me into like liking sneakers and collecting. But honestly, when you get older, you want something comfortable. So I'm a huge fan of runners now, and the first video I ever did on YouTube were on these. These are the Air Max 1 Flyknit, and the reason I really like this shoe is because it has so much 3M. I'm a huge fan of 3M. I need to get another pair of Air Max 1s because with it being a Flyknit upper, I really can't wear these all year round. So that's the next thing I want to do. I just want to be able to get them on sale. Next up is a classic, the Air Max 97 Gold Metallics. I love this sneaker. They're not the most comfortable, and aside from that, I just hate the fact that the midsole can be damaged so easily. I haven't worn these sneakers that much for the midsole to look like this, but I love the sneaker. Next up is the Air Max 90. This is like a reverse infrared colorway. Clean sneaker, has a little bit of pop to it, but yeah, I had copied these a few years ago for Air Max Day. Not much to really be said. Comfortable sneaker, good looking shoe. Back with the Air Max 97s, the B-side metallic. So I don't have silver bullets, and I think that these were really just a good option to have. It's a dope looking sneaker. I think that black at the top sets it off. But the only thing I'm mad about is these went on sale and I bought them at full retail. From the Air Maxes, you have the Vapor Maxes. The Vapor Maxes debuted in 2016, I think, for Air Max Day. And these were one of the first drops that they had, the Midnight Blue colorway. I wish I had more pairs of these. It's just that these are super expensive. $190 is not anything to sneeze at. Going back to the Air Maxes, you have the Air Max Deluxe. Again, another shoe from the 90s. I just love that design on the upper. And this made my top 10 pickup of 2018 as well. It has the outsole of the 97, but this sneaker I think is more comfortable than the Air Max 97. And my last Air Max is going to be the Air Max Flyknit. These are dope. They had so many dope colorways in this Flyknit. This is actually the multicolor joints that I got, and I think they even had like 3 different versions of the multicolors, but I love these. I just haven't worn them a lot. The one thing I hate about having such a big air bubble, of course, is the fact that it can start turning yellow. So I put these in the bag late, so it has started to turn a little bit. Next is the Roshis. At this point, you can get Roshis dirt cheap for like 40 bucks. They kind of came and went. They only were able to make 2 different Roshis, unfortunately, but I thought it was a very simple shoe. Without these, I don't think you get them Adidas Yeezys, to be honest, because that's essentially what he did. He bit off these. I mentioned before that there's a pair of sneakers that I still might want to get rid of, and that's these. The Nike Flyknit Racers and the multicolor colorway. I think these are the 2.0 multicolors. I don't even know, but they got 2 different multicolors. They got the 1.0 and the 2.0. I think these are the 2.0s. But yeah, the reason I want to get rid of them, or I might want to get rid of them, is because they're not that comfortable. I have a wide foot and the shoe is super narrow. This is what I call a dad shoe. They're from the early 90s, late 80s. This is the Nike Airspan 2 and the Hyper Royal colorway. Anytime I wear them, people ask me what they are, which is funny to me. The retail is like 90 bucks, but I picked them up for like $55 when Nike had a sale last year. I like the Hyperspan 2 so much, I got them in another colorway with the black and Volt colorway. Another sneaker I was able to get on sale once eBay had their 20% coupon code. I picked them up last year. Next up were Huaraches, and the first Huarache I picked up was out of the Love Hate pack. I don't remember if these are considered the Love or the Hate. I'm assuming they're the Love because they're all red, but clean sneaker, very comfortable to wear. Classic sneaker when you think about the 90s though. To finish up my Huaraches, you have the Scream Green Remix Lows, mad bright. I don't know why, but I've never really been a big fan of the Lows, and at some point last year, I was like, I really want a pair of Lows, and I was able to get these from Finish Line for super cheap. 45 bucks, crazy. My last Nike running or training sneaker is going to be the Nike Air Presto in the navy blue, white, and gray colorway. Prestos are cool, classic Nike sneaker in the Flyknit upper. Going into my Nike Dunk collection, you got the pink boxes. These joints dropped in 2016. I wish I could wear them more, but because the entire 3M upper is so delicate, I'm afraid that they're gonna crease a lot. So I don't wear them as much as I want to. And then my last pair of Dunks is from the Dornbecker collection from last year, designed by Joey Bates himself. He killed these between the gradient translucent bottom, the gold metallic touches, the gold tips on the laces. These joints are cold. Going into my lifestyle casual Nikes, you have the React Element 55s in the Tiffany green colorway. These are dope. Real simple colorway. You can get these on sale, but I'm looking forward to more colorways in the 55s. Got 2 pair. They came out at the same time, so I feel like anytime I speak about them, they're going to be talked about at the same time. But you got the Total Orange and then the Neptune Greens. Super comfortable, dope sneaker. I kind of think the hype on them kind of died out a little bit, but I don't care. And the last sneaker in my Nike casual lifestyle collection is Air Force Ones and the Silt Red. I love these joints because they got the jewel swoosh. Inside is all leather, has the premium leather on it, got the 3M on the back, and then I think there's also 3M in the laces, but I'm a huge fan of these. All my Nike sneakers are done, but since I was just going over my casual stuff, I might as well stay there. And you can't get more casual or laid back than a pair of Chucks Classics, red, white. They can be considered beaters, but you can't go wrong with a pair of Chucks. The second pair is a Converse Custom that I think they're still doing this on Nike.com, but essentially it's like a Converse ID. So I made these for my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi. You have my line name and my chapter there. Fatigue detailing on the lining of the shoe, yellow laces, but just something that I just wanted to have that's going to be a little bit different. Switching brands, will go into Puma. I have one Puma sneaker, and that is a classic Puma Clyde suede. So the entire upper is blue suede, the entire shoe is navy blue, which is my favorite color. Just as a real simple casual shoe, 2 laces to wear. My last 2 casual lifestyle sneakers are going to be Vans, and the first pair is the old school checkerboard in black and white. I think I had picked these up in like 2016, my first pair of Vans ever, and I was glad I got them because I realized that Vans are cheap and they're also comfortable. Followed by the Skate Highs, A Tribe Called Quest in yellow. Just the detailing of the shoe, the lyrics on the laces, Benita Applebaum on the lateral side. I think it's just a real clean shoe. It's different. I forgot I actually had some casual lifestyle sneakers with Adidas. And to start it, Stan Smith, the first ever tennis shoe in all white, his logo at the top. These are my first pair, my only pair of Stan Smiths I've ever bought, but I felt like I needed to have this in my collection. And another classic with Adidas, Shell Toes, in the classic white and black colorway. I haven't really worn these much, but I'm just hoping to God I'm able to keep the midsole from turning yellow. So far so good. So starting with the more low-key Adidas training sneakers, first up is the Adidas EQT Support ADV in triple black. The name of the sneaker sucks, but I definitely like it. It has that old school feel, bringing back a lot of the design language of the EQT from back in the early 90s. I like the EQT so much that I forced myself to get another pair with the Tactic yellow. I haven't worn these much, but it still has that knitted upper. I just think that the heel in the back is super cheap. The next shoe I think Adidas ruined, and that is the Alpha Bounce. This is with the engineered mesh. I forgot what the color green is that they had on it, but at first when these released, they were a little bit limited, but then they kept restocking them, so they became more popular, and then people were able to get them on sale, which is never a bad thing. So the shoe that helped kick off Adidas' run back in 2015 to help them be competitive with Nike, the Ultra Boost 1.0 in the solar red colorway. I'm just glad they didn't re-release these. They've been re-releasing a lot of the 1.0s. I'm glad they didn't do that on these. It has a 3M hit at the top. Colorway is dope. I am starting to see that it's yellowing a little bit on the Boost, but it is what it is. Next will be the 3.0. I didn't buy any 2.0s. I didn't like the prime knit pattern that they had on them, but I did like the pattern that they put on the 3.0s. The only downside is I went up a half size in these because at the time a lot of people were reviewing them saying that you should go up a half size, and you didn't need to. I should have went true to size in these, so it has a little bit more space than I prefer in my sneaker. And my last Ultra Boost in my collection is the 4.0, but it's the 5-year anniversary Johns, all black upper with the gray stripes, yellow tips on the laces, and what I love about the sneaker is the entire prime knit is 3M. And another shoe that was a part of the Adidas takeoff was the NMDs. Now these are more so lifestyle. I don't think these were considered running at all. This was strictly lifestyle. While Adidas was taking off, they also were signing some of the better basketball athletes, and Dame Lillard wasn't on most people's radar, but I'm glad they signed him because he had his own line. These are the 2s, Dame Lillard 2s, and I don't remember the name of this colorway, but I think it was draft day. He wore a suit similar to this in the draft, so you have a lot of grays, light grays, dark grays, red hints, and it had boost. Adidas then changed the name of Dame's third shoe to the Dame 3, and this is the Black History Month colorway. Pretty much it's all white and black, but then you have hints of a lot of different colors to just represent unity. But what I really liked about it was they honored Arthur Ashe, who was a great tennis player, when they designed these shoes, so I really did like that. Next is the bearded one, Harden Volume 1, I'ma Be a Star colorway. But pretty much this colorway was inspired by a letter that James Harden wrote his mom saying that he was going to be a star, and damn it, he ain't no liar. The dude's averaging 36 points right now. My last James Harden sneaker is the Volume 1 LS Lifestyle. When they decided to give him a lifestyle sneaker, I thought it was a great idea for the fact that he has like that personality off the court, but they just made it work. That prime knit design is crazy. You got black boost on the sneaker and then a glow-in-the-dark outsole. I've never seen a gum bottom glow-in-the-dark, so I thought that was just a nice feature, a nice touch that they put on the sneaker. I only have 4 shoes left, and we'll finish it off with my favorite basketball player of all time, and starting it off with the questions. These came in a pack. They were being sold at Packer Shoes at the time. I'm not sure if they were anywhere else, but the pack was called Players Only, and then on the inside it says promo sample. These shoes belong in the Hall of Fame. Michael Jordan got crossed in these. The blue toe questions. Always glad to have these in my collection. From the question, you have the answers. These are dope. Answer ones, black, white, and gold. These not only were different because they had the DMX cushioning on them for the first time, but the commercial was also classic when it came out. What I like about the sneaker is that it has his rookie stats in there. The last sneaker in my collection is the Answer 4s, the Step Overs, another sneaker going down in history. The only thing I hated when they retroed these were they took away some of the details that the OGs had. So that is it. That is my entire collection. Finally done. If you enjoyed the video, please comment, like, share, hit the thumbs. I appreciate all of that stuff. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and if you are already subscribed, hit the bell so you're notified when I'm dropping new videos. Also, I am taking video requests. Anything that you guys want me to do a video on, please let me know. I'm glad to do it. There have been a few requests that come through the comments, and one of them had to do with the way that I lace my sneakers. It seems like a few people like the way I lace my shoes, so one of the next videos I am going to be doing will be how I lace my LeBron 16s, because there are 3 different options to it. But other than that, man, please go subscribe to the channel.